Welcome to a very special episode of the Comic Book Strategic Investment Podcast. I am honored to be with my dear friend, the one and only Mercenaut. Will you please introduce yourself to our live audience?
Hey now, hello everybody. See me? What's up? Listen, I'm nervous. I'm on camera. You can see my face. I have to keep saying shit racist.
So is this your first appearance where you actually showed yourself as a human person?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
For the uninitiated,
yes.
Mercenaut is the Generation 1 YouTube comic book guru who's been doing the hard work since about 2012.
2012, correct? Yeah.
Letting us know what books are out there that we want and haven't been able to find for ourselves, telling us about the books that we should want so we can go out and give it a shot at trying to find them for ourselves.
Yes.
If you're not following him on YouTube, you're doing yourself a disservice. He is a credit to our community. And again, it's an honor to call him a friend. So Carter, if you will, tell us, how'd you get into comics?
Okay. It all started 1984. I had an older relative who lived with us. He had like comic books. The first comic book I think I ever read was a ROM number 61. It was whatever it was drawn by Steve Ditko, who I really didn't know at the time. And the one thing that I remember, it was like a beach scene and he drew like really nice asses on chicks. That I remember. And then skip ahead to 1991. My mom owned a dry cleaners. And around the corner was a Lawson's, which turned into Dairy Mart. And on the rack was a comic scene. And it was the cover was of the X-Men with Jim Lee, done by Jim Lee. So we had Wolverine, of course, Psylocke, Jubilee, and Havoc. This was like the coolest image I had ever seen. It was done by Jim Lee. And I took it to school. And like all the kids were wondering who Jubilee was because she looked like Robin, and we didn't know who the hell we didn't know who the hell Jubilee was. And then I saw X-Men number 274. So it was, I think it was like March. The date on it was March 1991. So it was January 91. And like that blew my mind. Again, the art was just it was too much. You know what I mean? It was just so beautiful. And ever since then I was hooked. And then the very next month was X-Men 275. It was like the special issue, huge issue, gatefold cover. I'm just like, this is it right here. I love comic books. This is awesome. And then I finally went to the comic book store. My father took me to the comic book store like a couple months after that. The first time I ever walked into a comic book store, it was, Jesus. The first comic that I ever saw was a Marvel Preview number 2. It had that Punisher cover. Wow. I thought this was a gallery piece. I thought this was I thought this is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. This thing must be $1 million. And I remember seeing the poster for Hulk 340 up on the wall, and it was it had a red background instead, but the cover, it was just, that image was so gorgeous. And ever since then, I loved comics. And so wow. I was hooked for about, I would say up until 1994. And then I realized, and this was around the time of the speculator boom. You know what I mean? And I'm kid, I'm a dumbass kid. I don't know shit. So I'm buying multiple copies of Batman 500. I remember paying $40 for a Solar Man of the Atom #1 from Valiant. And that's what soured me to comics. And then for about 8 years, I kind of avoided comics. And then in around 2002, I found out that Jim Lee, once again, Jim Lee, would be doing Batman Hush.
Oh my!
And that's what got me back in, and I've stayed in ever since.
Wow! Holy cow! Yeah, we'll talk about being blessed by the best.
I know, right?
So you were around in the infancy of the what I'd like to think of as kind of like the second wave of speculation and investment in comics.
It seems that way, yeah.
You were on the Google Plus boards?
Sort of, kind of. I know I was on the
CGC boards?
Not even CGC, blowout cards.
Okay.
Blowout cards. That's how I found out about CBSI, because I remember reading a post from Trey Kenyon that he was starting CBSI. And then I went on to that, and that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So talk to the people that are listening about what you do on YouTube.
Okay.
I mean, essentially, you're documenting the hunt.
Yes. This is a catalog, because in 2012, because I was watching guys like, I think it was Rick's Geeking It and Poet Skinny around, I think, 2011, really early 2012. I think Poet Skinny, especially, he kind of like really inspired, because I really wanted to do it, but I wasn't quite sure how, you know what I mean? So I remember around March, I bought a Hulk 181. March 2012, bought a Hulk 181, and I remember going, okay, this is the only book I need. I'm good. That's it. And then, God, around, and this was around the time of this. So it was 2012. So that's when they started announcing movies. You know what I mean? Oh, no. Wait. The Avengers movie, that first Avengers movie, Thanos, he got big. So I was praying to the comic book gods, if I can find this book, this will be the only book that I need, and I'll be good. If I can find Iron Man 55, I'll be good. That's it. And then they announced the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the characters, Gamora, Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon. And I remember finding the very next day, that Saturday, I remember finding the first appearance of Star-Lord, Marvel Preview number 4. And then I was trying to find Marvel Preview number 7, first Rocket Raccoon. That was impossible. Absolutely impossible. I prayed to the comic book gods. If I can find Marvel Preview number 7, I'll be all right. I won't need any more comics. That'll be it. And so I was just driving around, picking up comics, accumulating comics, not really knowing what the hell I was doing, but I was having fun. You know, going here, going there, going everywhere. And then it was so weird, because this was the store that I had been going to for years. Okay. And I find 2 Marvel Preview number 7s and 2 Marvel Preview number 4s for like $5 a piece. And they had been there the whole time for months. And that's what inspired me to do my first video. I was doing it was like a bunch of Marvel magazines. And I, again, didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I had fun doing it, though. And the video itself, the quality sucked, but I had fun doing it.
What a ride. So I kind of want to fast forward a little bit. Now, sure. You are, without a doubt, not only a force online and in the national comics market, but certainly in our local comic community. If you'll indulge me for one second.
Sure. There's me. I want to tap the screen to go, hey, that's me.
Tell me who these guys are.
Okay, that's Yanni Gugelak.
AKA right Sleepy John.
Sleepy John. But I know him and love him as Yanni Gugelak. And then there's you. And that guy at the end, That guy, I'm gonna tell you something. That guy, Keith, that's the baddest. He's the best. He's the best. He makes us all look like pikers.
He really does.
Oh my god.
Oh, Lord have mercy. And the person that took this photograph is Bill from Bill's Books, right? Is that Bill that took this photo? I think Bill took that picture because I just remember him. I remember him talking about seeing the four of us at his booth and being like, "This isn't what anyone wants to see. Can't you guys go shop somewhere else?"
Take your asses on. You kids get away from on.
How do you do it now that people absolutely know who you are? They see you coming. I mean, before you answer that question, I want to tell people a little bit about this week's score. So on your video that dropped, 4 days ago?
Wednesday, yeah.
You showed us this book.
Yes, my baby. Yes.
And what's special about this book?
Okay, the Clone Wars, Star Wars, the Clone Wars #1, first appearance of Ahsoka Tano, the cool female Jedi, and this book got really hot. I want to say around the end of 2019, I believe, or at the very least the beginning of 2020, and all of a sudden that book just kind of shot up to like 200 at one point, and then to 300, and under the right circumstances a raw copy can go for 400. And that book right there, I'm tapping on the screen, but oh yeah, so we have ourselves a newsstand copy. Found a newsstand copy. Yeah,
have any newsstands come to market?
Yes. Yeah. I was looking at eBay sales for newsstands. They're kind of all over the place depending on actually, honestly, I forget. But I know they're expensive. I
can't even imagine.
I told you the story because I texted you the picture, and
share it with our viewers.
Okay. Literally a few days before, my buddy was at that exact store searching for Star Wars. And as you know, there's Dark Horse Star Wars and there's Marvel Star Wars. I think he stayed over in the Marvel Star Wars section a little too long, and then he gave up and left. And something told me to go double back and go to that store, because I was thinking about he was already there, but I'm like, you know what? There's got to be something there. So I looked in the Dark Horse, and sure as shit, there that book was. And of course, I had to text him. Honest to God, I think that was the cruelest thing I think I've ever done. That was cruel. I should have left that alone. But it was weird because that book had been there for ages, and I see, like, because it's kind of like tucked away at the bottom, and like you really have to get on the floor and dig. But I'm surprised people just kind of pass that up. I'm surprised I passed that up because I was actively searching for that book at that time, and I'd been to that store like maybe, honestly, 10 times before I actually found it.
I want to interrupt you.
Sure.
The message is real thugs get down on the floor. We've got an advantage. I got a buddy. He's a bigger guy. He's like, I can't get down there. My knees are bad.
Listen,
it's the first place I go. I like, the only time I'm on my feet is until I feel like there's been enough time that everything that's on has been looked at once, and then I'm down. And I stay down. And I try to go to the back of the boxes.
Yes. I'm going to tell you something. Nobody has worse knees than me. My knees hurt all the fucking time. I got knees like a goddamn running back. They're bad, but you know what? Actually, I'm more comfortable on the floor. I love it. I freaking love it.
Do you sit or do you kneel?
I sit.
Yeah, me too.
I used to kneel, but I'm like, nah.
Some people do. Yeah.
I'm just gonna cross my legs and just go crazy and just kind of lift myself up like this, right. And I get a good core workout. It's a little pouchy, it's a little punchy right there, but yeah, it's a great. Honest to God, it is an awesome work. The comic book workout, I recommend it. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, but how do you do it? I mean, people let you walk out of these stores with these books?
I tell you the story on that particular book. Like when I found it, I mean, they're cool. Like this store is cool. You know what I mean? They know me. I'm a nice guy. Shit, you know? So I took it up to the counter. It's like, oh yeah, Saga Deno. She's going to be in the next Star Wars movie. And he rung it up for 50 cents. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah. It just is what it is. I'm a sweetheart. And people gravitate towards that.
Yeah, so I was told today, because I was digging in your hemisphere, which is all-encompassing, a multi-state terrain, that you were the precise reason why I wasn't allowed to buy multiple copies of books.
No way.
It's that one friend. It's that friend of yours. He picks us clean apart, and they changed their corporate policy.
It can't be me. It can't be me because honestly, I don't even think.
Well, without mentioning the gentleman's name, I've invited him to always watch my podcasts.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, there's an impact. The question is it going to slow you down? I think not.
You know what? No, I mean, I thought it would, but it's been like years, and then slow. I don't know. I mean, there are slow days. Hell, there are even like slow weeks. But ultimately, man, once you get back into a groove, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So, what's this all entail? How do you do it? I mean, day in, day out. You're going after work. When you got days off, spending entire days trying to go 3, 4, 5 times a week, or
like I said,
weekend warrior, or
like I've said in the video, and like I've told you, I made sure to reduce my schedule. You know, it's not like I reduce my schedule significantly, and it's not like I can necessarily afford to do it, but I can't afford not to do it. You know, just mentally and health wise. You know what I mean? So I reduced my schedule, and that kind of left me free to just search. And I've been doing that for the past, ever since things opened back up, you know, probably around May-ish. Ever since things opened back up, I just kind of been hitting the road and going here and going there, you know. For me, the day starts by checking eBay and seeing what's sold. Just checking sites to see what's hot and what's not, you know. But ultimately, it's about just checking eBay, because I remember that because I was hunting on a Tuesday and I saw that Spider-Man number 20 was selling consistently. Now, it wasn't a $50 book, but it was like it was selling consistently at like $5. You know what I mean? So I put that in exactly. So I put that in the mental Rolodex to try to find, and I did find a copy of it, and actually found a couple more this today for a cover price. Nice. And just kind of do it like that, and then just go digging. And then just kind of, the funny thing is, I try. I'm so hyped up that I kind of forget to check, you know, like the sites and the apps and the stuff like that. And I just kind of keep digging and 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 digging. And I don't want to stop. I don't stop. Like people that go with me, like they'll go, don't you want to eat?
Yeah, we should go together sometime, because at least I'd have somebody that I could keep up with. I've been with Keith, but we were a bad tandem. We came home very empty-handed and ashamed of our results. But I'm sort of the same way, right?
That shame is real. That shame is real.
Yeah. And but I'm sort of the same way. Like I don't want to go home. I'm always looking for an extra stop. I like for somebody else to drive so that I can plot where we're going. Like, no, I want to go here, here, here. I become a cartographer all of a sudden. It's like, this is the route that we're going to go.
Yeah, you're the spotter.
Yeah, and that, right, I'm calling them to make sure they're open. Because, I mean, that's another thing. Comic shops are not always open, even though they're on Google. And
right,
you got to drive. So what's your average drive? I mean, for me, I've got to go 2+ hours. Like I can hit Pittsburgh and hit every shop in Pittsburgh in like 2 days.
Okay.
And then it's done for like a month or 2 or 4 or whatever. And then I'm out, and it's like 2.5, 3 hours or longer before I can actually find places that I've never been before. Or
I have probably like a 3-hour radius. You know what I mean? Because like driving is, I don't mind the drive, but
it cuts into your picking time.
That's why I go early. Butt crack of dawn. I'm a butt crack of dawn guy. I wake up early, and like if I need to sleep, I have to leave early enough, like maybe even a half hour, or like maybe leave 3.5 hours earlier, just in case I need to take a nap or something like that.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is, a lot of these shops don't open early.
Right. Just
right. Like you can't get in the door until 11.
But I'm cool with that, only because I can just kind of gather my thoughts. Again, check eBay, see what's doing, what's shaking and moving, and then by the time they open, you're kind of ready. Because I was sitting in the car waiting for this one shop to open, and that's when I found out about that Spider-Man number 20. So it helps just to sit there and be still for a minute before everything opens.
Fascinating. So talk to me about the kind of books that you keep in your personal collection. An eclectic blend, or I don't know. I'm asking.
Honestly, it's mainly just first appearances. I like first appearances. I've always loved first appearances. I remember collecting those X-Men trading cards from the 90s that Jim Lee did. And I had like my own, like a separate page of cards in the binder of the characters that I had first appearances of. You know what I mean? And because you just feel closer to a character when you have their first appearance. So I just like first appearances and like iconic covers. And honestly, I want what everybody else want. I don't want what nobody else.
Right. That's the problem.
I don't want a damn thing that don't nobody else want. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. That's very much the problem for me. When a market gets hot for a particular thing, I'm like, ooh, me too. And it's contrary to everything that's rational. The worst way possible to spend money, and it's what makes the digging and the dollar fines or the 50-cent fines critical, because otherwise I'm impoverished.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now there are some things you just can't buy that way, right? I mean, I remember the last book I was trying to buy from you, but you wanted market price. So that was the end for me. And by that, I mean 20% less than market price. So I was just like, no way. If I can't get it for half of what it's worth, why would I buy it?
Yeah.
But it was a golden age book. You still pulled it out. So, I mean, let's not pretend like you're out just pulling books out of dollar bins.
No.
Yeah.
I'm definitely willing to spend what the hell? Okay, the most that I've ever spent on a comic has got to be that Fantastic Four number 5.
Ooh.
Actually, no. One I spent, it was like $1,300, and it was a graded 4/5, and then a raw copy
on an FF5.
Yes, but this was like
damn,
probably a few years ago.
Well, deal of the century, sir.
It kind of was, yeah. And then 1800 on probably, fingers crossed, it was a raw copy. But if I could get a 5, I'd be very happy. And that one was 1800. So that's the most I've spent. But but it's like you have to kind of just think about it. Just think about the future. You know what I mean? If shit doesn't hit the fan, and it, you compare it to what other people are paying, that's not so bad. You know what I mean? That's not a bad price.
So where do you see the future of comics?
Ooh, to me, it's directly tied into pop culture. It's a part of movies now, and pop culture is big business. You know what I mean? So therefore, comics are big business, or at the very least, the aftermarket is big business. You know what I mean? Those first appearances, as soon as a movie is announced or a TV show is announced, then that book is going to skyrocket. Now, whether it'll come back down is anybody's guess, but at the very least, it's skyrocketing now, and people are making money off of it now.
Yeah. Well, there's always people who are claiming that the sky is falling. That right, and we've talked privately. I mean, I think we were both shocked at the strength and resiliency of the comic market in the face of civil unrest, economic uncertainty, and just a lot of fear about the future. I mean, people are shutting down their businesses. They're not able to go into work at not just their comic shops, but at their day jobs in all areas of every sector of the economy. And staying at home and a $1,200 check from Uncle Sam just doesn't do the trick when you've got a mortgage and food to pay for, conceivably children or child support or any number of different obligations, not the least of which are your utilities. And people are still spending big money on comics. I mean, every other sector of the economy got a governmental bailout.
Yes.
Comics, and we've gone through the roof.
Can you believe that?
I still can't wrap my head around it. To be
like, we can't like the aftermarket of comics has come out of the other side hotter and stronger than ever, and I'm personally floored by it, because I remember like those first few weeks of the shutdown, like I had no clue what the hell was happening. Like my 401k was just like, it was free falling. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, what's going on? And I just figured, you know what? Let me sell some books just so I can have some cash. Just so I can have some cash on hand. Now, I'm glad I did that, but at the same time, it was just weird that that people were buying. You know what I mean? Like when I put some stuff up, people were buying it, and I could have swore it was going to be a crash, but nope, not at all. Like maybe some books have maybe lost their luster, maybe. But overall, man, these first appearances are as hot as ever. It's nutso butso.
Yeah. So I'm scared that I'm trying to like give a post hoc rationalization for the strength of the comic market by saying things like, well, people couldn't go to their local comic shops. Wednesday books have slowed down. I'll
tell you what. I'm gonna give you a theory. There's a guy named Justice for Comics, and I was watching his video the other day, and he gave the theory that that since casinos are closed, gamblers need another out. They need an outlet. And I think sports cards are as hot as ever, and comic books are as hot as ever. And I think the gamblers are throwing their money at that. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, nevertheless, it's just it's unbelievable, and it really comforts me and excites me at the same time.
Yeah,
I was like, I was pretty comfortable with the idea that comics would rebound. Hollywood, as you indicated, champions superheroes and comic books generally, right? Like they use comic books as storyboards to pitch ideas to screenwriters and producers. Things are getting optioned left and right. I mean, we're inextricably linked to Hollywood now for the first time ever. And I knew that with Hollywood money behind us, comics would come roaring back.
Yeah.
My question is, what's the roar going to look like when Hollywood comes back? I mean, oh my.
Just announcements and production. Things will be rolling again, and we're gonna see and hear a bunch of announcements, and I'm afraid. I'm afraid that things are just gonna go nuts again. You know what I mean? Because I never thought that Ultimate Fallout 4, like the regular edition, would be what it is. It just keeps growing and growing, like the dragons in Game of Thrones. They can keep going. They can keep growing.
Yeah. Well,
and growing.
How many copies do you think you've sold?
I've sold. Oh my God, I've sold. I remember hearing someone on this podcast talk about how they sold a couple for $80 a piece. I'm like, dude, that's big money. I remember selling a couple either a year ago or 2 years ago for $30. I remember doing that and thinking, oh, okay, I made some money. No. That's why, listen, I'm glad I've got my 5. I've got my 5 and my 9/8 variant. So I'm happy. I'm gonna cuddle with those. Those are going to keep me warm, and I'm just going to have to just let go of those other 2 that I basically gave away. But I got my 5, and I got my 9/8 variant. I'll tell anybody that'll listen. I got that shit.
So I'm like you, right? If I would have known better, I would have kept all of them. Yes, and I think, and for me, it wasn't even the copies that I passed on, or the copies that I sold, rather. Because there certainly were those. It's the copies that I passed on. Like, being in a store where a guy had a long box and me being like, let me buy the long box. And then being like, you ready? This was the answer.
We both saw that long box. Yes.
Yeah. This was his answer to me because we offered money, me and Jon Z from the flip side.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We absolutely offered money in. And
right.
He told us no. And this was the explanation. You'll crash the market. And I'm like, oh, you're not one of those people, are you? Like, you think your wee little long box is going to crash the market for a book? You go on, people. It blows my mind.
Man.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what? Okay, because
we should have offered more money, is what it boils down to.
Because I was thinking, well, shoot, maybe, I don't know, offer $1,000 for it or something. I don't know. But okay.
Yeah, and we passed, or I passed, I should say, on like a half a dozen copies. I don't know, the last Harper show.
Really?
$60 a piece.
Damn, seriously.
My buddy bought one, and
okay.
I was trying to raise capital for another thing, and sold a Hulk 181, and the guy that I sold him to is like trying to parlay the Ultimate Fallout 4s into the deal. And I was like, no, it's okay. Just give me cash. And I should have taken them and ran out the door. But
yes, sir. Honestly, to me, back then, like even last year, 60 would have been too much to me. Because I'm an extreme cheapskate. 60 would have been, honestly,
maybe why we get along so well. I share that frugalness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am super cheap. Like, I'll see, because I was at that show today, and I saw a bunch of books that I just kind of was like, I don't want to buy that. It's too much. And I saw dealers just like pile up on them. You know what I mean? Because I guess they, like, me and Foresight don't get along. every once in a while, the foresight monster will bite me, but really, no, 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 no. I am not good on foresight because I was at a store. This was quite a few years ago, where the Ultimate Fallout 4 variant was hanging up on the wall for $100.
Oh,
And I'm like, I already have one. I don't need to spend
oh.
100. I don't need to spend 100 on it. I don't need to spend 100 on another one. You know what I mean? So, yeah, me and foresight don't get blown. I don't know how the hell I'm doing what I'm doing now. It's like I wait for a book to get hot and then I go after it. You know what I mean? To try to find that deal. That's kind of like I think that's my MO. I wait for it to get hot and then I try to buy it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's what I call buying undervalued comics. Like, the person who owns it doesn't value it as much as I do, so I'm going to pay him what he wants for it and take it for myself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the name of the game. That's exactly how I operate.
Yeah, I think that's how hostile takeovers. Also operate. That's what they call hostile takeovers.
Yeah.
The sheer force of will. How much do you want? Okay, thanks. Mine.
But I'll say, I'll throw something up on eBay, and I'm thinking, oh, this is a lot of money, you know what I mean? And then somebody buys it, and then maybe, I don't know, like a year later it blows up, you know what I mean? But good for them,
Yeah. Now we, in the vein of being cheap, I can tell you, I was like, again, ashamed to show you the books that I bought today because I'm like, had to pay cover for this. Like, this was at Ratio, this variant. How dare I pay Ratio? How dare I pay cover price? Ridiculous.
Those are some good books, though. Those are some good books, though.
Let's talk about what I think everybody's kind of most interested in, but nobody wants to talk about it in public.
Sure.
No, it's not that cute girl that they refuse to reach out to and slide in their DMs. It's forthcoming Marvel television shows and films. So we got 2 TV shows in the works.
Okay.
Coming out in 2020, right? We'll get both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Spec's cold as ice on both of those titles, really. I mean, everybody's paying attention to Star Wars books and Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. I don't know if you got a chance to read the Weekend Update article that I wrote this week, but basically talked about the change in the spec cycle, right? That it used to be back when you were buying those Guardians of the Galaxy books, and I was just getting out of comics. I think I'd already gotten out, actually, because I had those books and sold them with everything else because they hadn't taken off yet. But from what people tell me, it was, when the movie dropped, that the prices soared, right?
Yeah.
And then as time progressed, it was probably in everybody's best interest to kind of get rid of these books. Casting time, trailer time. And now it appears like, it was the news of WandaVision, Blade, Shang-Chi, Scarlet Witch. I mean, just the mere mention at D23 or San Diego Comic-Con that sent all of those properties soaring. And now with Miles and Gwen, it's like they've taken off before there's even anything but like ruminations and faint whispers of what we're all demanding to see in the future. What do you kind of think about those sorts of things? I mean, are you super excited for the TV shows, but not focused on those books, or assuming that they're going to pop off, or that there will be some winners that will come out of the TV shows or the films, or how do you think about that stuff?
I tell you what, I think back to that time when Werewolf by Night number 32 got real hot, and there was no news about a TV show at all, but people just felt it. People felt it, and then like however many years later, like a few years later, now a Moon Knight TV show or whatever is announced. But I think people are just like, people are eager. I think fans kind of driving up the prices of these first appearances is basically telling studios, get on the ball. That's what it seems like to me. It's like, okay, when the first appearance of Miles Morales or of Spider-Gwen like goes up, it's basically telling studios, come on, let's make this happen. Come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. I was just wondering whether or not these guys are elbows deep in the comic market, as many.
I know, right? Yeah, because it's like, well, you can't imagine some like super busy studio exec caring about the comic market. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I mean, my day job is incredibly demanding. I know a lot of people who have incredibly demanding day jobs, and on their way to work, on their way home from work, they're listening to YouTube shows, checking on eBay on their lunch hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
well, if that's the case, then get on the ball. Get on the ball, Mr. Studio Exec, Mr. Super Busy Studio Exec that's checking eBay and checking the podcasts and the YouTube. Make it happen. Come on.
Yeah. So what kind of content do you listen to on YouTube?
Oh my God.
You consume it all?
Oh yeah. I'm always on. During the time of the shutdown, I wasn't bored at all. I had YouTube. I was watching everything. You know what I'm saying? I was like every once, like I would dig in my long boxes like every day just to try to find something, because I'll check CBSI to see if that variant that I have is hot, or you know what I'm saying, or I'll watch ETA Nick, or I'll just watch
Wizard.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my. Yes. For sure.
Yeah.
I'll watch him. And
my buddy says the rest of us are playing roulette. He's busy counting cards.
Yeah, that's to me that's about right, because I just feel like I'm just kind of nickel and diamond my way through it, and he's just like just throwing just throwing stacks down, and I'm just like just flicking nickels. You know what I'm saying?
Both. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
But who else do you listen to? Like a lot of the movie stuff, or do you peruse Deadline, or
not? Like I'll watch, or not necessarily watch, but I'll read the sites to see what movie announcements. I'm subscribed to, I think, the Cosmic Wonder, but to me, he's like more into rumors more than anything, and I'm just like, I want concrete announcements. You know what I'm saying? I need
exactly what you mean.
I need announcements. I don't need rumors. I don't need spec, because I have enough spec in my life. You dig? So I need concrete shit. And so I'll just kind of like, maybe if something is announced, I'll just go, oh, okay, all right. I'll check eBay. I'll check my long boxes to see if I have it. And but like I said, I have not been bored. I don't watch TV. Like I'll watch a couple things that are DVR'd, but the TV stays off the most of the day. My computer is on. I'm watching YouTube. I'm on eBay. I'm looking through my comic collection. Like the 2 months of that shutdown, wasn't bored at all. Like I might be boring, but I wasn't bored.
Now, I've tortured everybody without asking the most important question, which is, did you bring books for us?
I did, actually. I have at least 2 spec books. 2 spec books. Now, this is a book that I have talked about, about I want to say about a year or 6 months ago. And we have Rage of the Red Lanterns. I just found this.
Nice and close.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's pretty, isn't it? Okay, so Rage of the Red Lanterns. I forgot to look up who the first appearance of this character was. I totally forgot. But to give you a description, it's the chick who has like the bone wings, like the kind of skeletal wings, and she's a Red Lantern. It's her first appearance. And back when I talked about this book, when I first talked about this book, it wasn't going for anything. And then maybe 6 months to a year later, this is the third print. And it's going for about $25 now. So it's going for a respectable amount. But I found a couple of copies of these today, actually. So yeah. Yeah.
What else you got?
Let's see, I got another one. Now this one here, you seen this one. You seen this one, but I gotta save that for I gotta save that for my channel. But I texted you a picture of that one. I said, that's a good one. I like that one. Boom. Okay, now this book, I don't know if anybody has talked about this or not, but I noticed that. So we have Catwoman. I believe this is the first series from the 90s. This is number 65. And I actually like this cover. It's kind of like a Joker possessed cover.
It's awesome. I've never seen it.
Yeah, and I was checking eBay, I think maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, and I noticed that this book is going for $25. And like maybe a couple of months prior, this book was going for $5, and then all of a sudden it jumped up to $25. And this book is really, really tough to find. But yeah, so Catwoman number 65.
Carter, I love that you teach me stuff.
But I gotta,
please, more, please. We want more.
I gotta teach it to you after I find the shit. You know what I'm saying? I can't go teaching it before I find it.
Yeah.
What else do I have? I'll do one more. Okay, so we have Ultimate Comics. Ultimate Comics. All new Spider-Man. Damn it, the glare monster is strong. Damn it. Ultimate Comics. All new Spider-Man number 8. So I would have to imagine, what is this? The meeting between Gwen Stacy, probably the Ultimate Universe Gwen Stacy, and Aunt May of Miles Morales Spider-Man. So this is the variant. Now, I was at this store about a week ago, and I saw it, and I passed it up because I just wasn't sure what the hell it was. And now this book really isn't going for anything, but I noticed that sellers want a lot for it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not selling, but sellers want a lot for it. I think the last one that sold for like, it was like a buy it now for like maybe less than $10 or something like that. But I dig this. It's a variant, it's a Miles Morales variant. And yeah, I just dig the cover.
It's sick. Yeah. I've never seen it. Love it.
Yeah.
I assume you didn't pay $10 for it.
How much did I pay for this? I'm thinking I paid $8. I think.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
At the very least.
What are they asking for it on eBay?
Like 100. They're asking it. Now they're not getting it, but they're asking it. Like 75 to 100.
Yeah, that's how this whole Ultimate Fallout 4 thing started.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was like Borat. You can't get it. And then they got it, and then it was a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, man. So, and how do you discover these books? Strictly from your investigations of eBay, with your digging through boxes? I mean, because I know a lot of guys, for example, they love to look at My Comic Shop or other places just to see images of books. And, other people are doing, kind of like from recall, like, oh, I remember when that variant came out. I liked it, couldn't get a copy of it, didn't want to pay $20 then, but now, boy, would it make sense to pay 20 for it.
Yep.
Is it a little bit of all of that, or?
It's like a kind of it's like a cross section. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily. I'll tell you what. I'll check my comic shop to see if there are any copies there, because sometimes there won't be any copies on eBay, but then you'll see like a copy for like $5 and it's not selling, and you're just like, oh, so I'm gonna put that back. You know what I mean?
About, like, in other words, in terms of discovering books.
Oh, it just has to catch my eye. Like if it's something that I don't know about, it just has to catch my eye, and then I'll just go, okay, I've never seen this before, so let me look it up. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's just like, oh man, it ain't worth shit, and I'll just put it back. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to accumulate a whole bunch of stuff just because it catches my eye. It's got to be worth something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, Carter, you've been called by Matt DeVoe the best picker in the game. Do you know who Matt DeVoe is?
I know who Matt DeVoe is.
Yeah.
Mr. Cover Bryce himself. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Matt arguably has the best mind for comics in the game. So
I appreciate that, but we know who the best picker is. We both know who the best picker is. Here's the thing. I'm just the one on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I'm just the one on YouTube, but we both know who the absolute best picker is.
See, you talk to a lot of people. I'll get comments like this occasionally on my website or on the CBSI website on my news articles, right?
Yeah.
They'll be like, you can't just buy these books for $1. Like, that's not a thing. You can't just tell me, go buy these books for $1 somewhere. Because that's sort of what I tell people to do. Like, oh, go buy this book for $1. You can find them. And I know people that do that. Right? You do that. I do that. Sleepy does that.
Yes.
Keith does that. I mean, and a lot of people, I think, just believe that it's impossible for them to kind of develop and hone those kinds of skills. Can you kind of give some pointers to people that are trying to mature in their ability to dig and find comics of value and catch deals? I mean, what would you tell somebody?
I'll tell you what. If you're a sad sack, then I'm going to leave you to yourself. If you have that attitude, I'm going to leave you to yourself. That's what I tell you. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
If you don't, here's the thing. If you don't think it'll happen, then it won't, and I'll leave you to yourself.
Yeah, my mantra has been that of Adam Sandler when he was told the story of the little dog who ran away. Mm-hmm. You remember he was in Mrs. Lippy's class and she read the book to the students. And you remember this?
Barely.
Billy Madison.
Oh, I barely remember that movie, but tell me the story.
Well, Billy Madison, if you remember, Adam Sandler's character had to go back through school because he was kind of a jack-off.
Oh, yeah.
And he's sitting in a little kindergarten class in a circle, and Mrs. Lippy, she reads him the story of the dog who ran away.
Uh-huh.
And at the end of the story, she asks what the children thought. And he said, Mrs. Lippy, what I don't like about this story is that the boy just gave up. He just went home. That's bullshit. You got to get out there and post signs. You got to find that fucking dog. And I think that's kind of the mantra, right, for digging. Like, you got to get out there and take as many looks as you possibly can and just keep digging, right? No time to waste. Got to get on the floor. Look at books, love looking for comics, harness that inner energy, their inner Mercenaut.
Bitch, you better die trying. That's all I can tell you. Die trying.
So before we go, can you tell people how they can find you?
I'm not really on Twitter, and I'm not really on Instagram. Now I should be, because you were telling me about all that cool stuff that you found on Instagram. But I'm mainly on YouTube. Mercenaut on YouTube. Mercenaut on YouTube.
Yeah, and you'll get to see cool things
Yes.
that you find out in the wild, or that you have purchased from your bounty, like this sucker, for example.
My beauty. Mwah, my beauty. Mwah, 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 mwah. My beauty.
That you just showed, 4 days ago?
Yes.
Mint in the box.
It is. Now, the box itself isn't mint, but what's inside is very much so. Hallelujah. Because I trade, like, it's like, I mean, I told the story, but I had like 4 comics, sold them off, and then the money that I had paid for that, like, outright. And I had $200 left over, which was awesome.
Damn, my man. Alrighty. Well, it's 10 bells. I want to leave everybody with this very sincere message. There's speculating, there's investing, and there's CBSI. Thanks for joining us.